Thank you, Kenji. Thank you, SMUG, for having me today. Man, it's going to be great. I'll finish this off and the weekend will be starting. Okay. So the session is called Systematically Enhance Your Online Courses. My name is John. I went to Sterling University with Kenji about 20 years ago or so, or 25 years ago. I'm currently working on something called the Avenue and the onyx.on.ca projects across Canada. We support new Canadians and Canadians who are endeavoring to get into post-secondary positions in 10 provinces and 1 territory. It's quite a lot of work. We've been doing it for 12 years now, and our LMS is Moodle. I function as a teacher mentor, content developer, designer, and I also man the some help desk time so I can actually learn the real problems in real time, which is very interesting. My LinkedIn is John Allan. Okay, so essentially this is a reflection on how an independent team of instructors took on the issue of intentionally improving online courses when there was a vacuum at a technical college. So it's not too theoretical, it's just basically going through our process. So I hope it's useful to you. This happened in 2016, so remember that this is before the pandemic, and it was just a benevolent venture from a few teachers. So we started off, we were using something called Desire to Learn or Brightspace and LMS. It's not really that important. We had 50 fully online and blended courses. They varied between, the structure varied and the quality varied dramatically. It was chaos. Few courses were reused from term to term because the instructors would essentially build one, have a frustrating experience and not continue. There were no systems in place. The teachers worked in silos. Generally, there was no real camaraderie. And it was a technical college in Qatar. Brought up its own challenges. So I'd say about 12 of us got together and we decided to create a framework which integrated best practices that we could find and we could share from our experiences of online learning and blended learning. We wanted to incorporate universal design into our framework and also accessibility. We really wanted to have this framework allow us to support each other. So our primary goal was gradually to elevate the quality and reliability of online courses at our college. The practical goals we set to do this were to define a robust course, set minimum course criteria, set realistic enhancement targets, set a review process, and set up extensive supports to allow us to ensure that teachers who went into this area of putting their courses online, that they would have all sorts of supports and not feel left alone. So the robust course elements we decided on were a course introduction for each course, a course introduction, clear learning objectives. We had to have some sorts of common assessment and measurements. We had, of course, you'd have to have instructional materials, and there'd be activities and learner interaction. It's really amazing when we first looked at some of the courses before we actually started this process, how so many courses had none of the, just very few of them. They would just have teacher notes and an exam or a forum. So this was actually, for the college at the time, this is actually kind of groundbreaking, believe it or not. Also for our robust course, we wanted to have appropriate course technologies because everybody was using different things. Some teachers were paying for their own technologies. Other ones had no idea, and they were just using freebies online and trying to just link out to them. We also needed to have learner support in different ways, including usability and accessibility. Most of the courses did not consider accessibility at all at this time. So in order to go through this process, a few of us had already taken the Quality Matters training. I'm not sure if you're aware of Quality Matters. I'm sure some of you are, but Quality Matters is quite big in the United States, and we found it, and we found it was quite simple to follow and quite general. So a few of us took it for our own needs and purposes, and we decided then to look at other rubrics that were available. And the ones we found, because even though we were in Qatar, we were sort of North American centric. We looked at the Canvas checklist, the Ontario Learn rubric, and the OS State University of New York's quality rubric. So that's where that's what we found. We know there's many more, but we just tried to limit our choices. So we had these options here. So to go forward with rubrics, option one was to adopt an existing rubric wholeheartedly, like just to marry it, sort of, just take it in and just use that. But the problem with that is when you're a technical college in Qatar, it's very difficult to find a really good fit. I'm sure that it doesn't matter where you are. Something off the shelf doesn't always work. So it's hard to find a good fit. Then if you marry the product, if you join the organization and all of your courses are mapped to this or are evaluated or are evaluated by this rubric, you're confined by its structure. And also with technology, I'm not really comfortable marrying a product. For example, Microsoft tools for everything. Everybody's gone through that experience. So option one was just take something off of the shelf. Option two, we decided, was to repurpose and customize a rubric and make it our own. So considerations for this were cultural norms, which was a really strong one for us because there's a lot of things that we had to be aware of, being in the Arabic Gulf. One is an example is respectful images, and there's a lot of things there. And then there's localizations. A lot of the online materials that we found and published materials that came in textbooks and CDs had no mention of the Middle East at all in them. They were either Eurocentric or North American centric. So we thought that by customizing the rubrics, we could incorporate some of these cultural norms and localizations. Also, we had to align with the institutional and divisional academic practices that we had at that college, which were a bit off from European and North American standards. Also, we would need development time and time for our team and possibly experts to come in to help us repurpose an existing rubric. That's a consideration. Would that be done on our own time, or would that be done? Would we be compensated for that? And also, most likely, we would have had to have had administrative approval. So that was another consideration, because our administrators were not really in favor of us making our own rubric at the time. Option three is make an original rubric from scratch. And as you know, do we have the in-house expertise to do that? And the answer was no. Would we get release time because it would be a large endeavor? Of course not. Consultation expense, maybe that could be covered, but we'd have to win the administrators over to this. At the time, online and blended courses weren't really favored by the administration. They wanted all of the students in the classroom with a teacher in front of them at all times. And so also the extensive development time it would take to make an original rubric would be prohibitive. So we chose option 1, but not really. We actually chose option 2. We went with a variation of the quality matters standards, and this is what we did. So we opened up the quality matters rubric, and then we, as a team, went through which of the standards in the rubric met or did not meet our requirements at that college. And that led us to removing some of the standards and also altering some of the standards. So what we did was we were talking to our management, and they caught wind of this, which was amazing. And somebody in management gave us a sort of a swipe and just said, everybody on our staff is going to be Quality Matters certified. So essentially what they did was they went to choice 1, where we would just adopt Quality Matters. So within the Quality Matters certification, trainers came over from the United States. They were there on 2 instances, and all teachers were supposed to show up. I'd say about 40% did. Within the Quality Matters certification, we talked about best in their rubric. They deal with best practices of online learning, universal design, and accessibility. So the management did listen, and they went forward with the certification. And inside of the certification, I'm not sure if any of you have seen the Quality Matters rubric, but it looks similar to this. There's standards, there's standard topics, and there's standards, substandards, standards, no, don't say substandards, standards, and it's a point system, point-based system. So if your institution sets out to have a pass or a fail or needs improvement, it would be based on points within standards with suggestions if your course is evaluated. So I'd like to just compare here. This is the Canvas course evaluation checklist. I'm not sure if you've seen this one. So this is what we did was we looked at all of these. There's the Canvas one. Quality Matters. Now Quality Matters has a blended learning rubric as well. Ontario Learn was just more like a checklist. The one from State University of New York is more complicated when you go to the site. It's broken up into different sections. So essentially, the institution went with Quality Matters, but they didn't enforce it at all. So in the sections, all the teachers had carte blanche to choose which one of these elements that they wanted to address. So it was still, even though we had Quality Matters, we had Quality Matters certified folks. It didn't matter. It was not being managed at all. So we, as a sort of a rogue group of teachers, pressed on with our project. So it was really nice because a lot of the teachers were aware of online rubrics and standards. So what we did was we came up with our own review, and before that, we came up with our own review, and we looked at all of the standards and agreed if it was suitable for our institution and our needs in general or not. So essentially, we came together and then we refined a general college rubric. And then from there, and this took a few months, we had each division, representatives from each division. This was informal. That went through, say, for example, the health sciences. They would do a further refinement of the Quality Matters rubric and make their own customized one. And engineering did the same, language studies did the same, stuff like that. So essentially, we made our own customized rubrics, which was basically we took out parts that didn't match our institution, and then we also altered some of the elements, some of the standards. So after months, we had our rubrics, and it was still in draft when we had our rubric temporarily published. And then we went through and did some informal reviews of courses, 2 for each division. And essentially what we did was we went through their banner, the best courses, and essentially we did quality reviews. And the results were, not surprising. Some of the courses did well, some of the courses didn't do well. But the thing is that it allowed us to then suggest to the instructors and their deans, if they would listen, it allowed us to make suggestions on how they can improve their courses, like over the next term. So these course reviews, we went through, we did them, we shared them with the folks, the administrators and the teachers, and then we showed them the pathway to making their courses better gradually. We didn't say that because you missed 4 things in section X, you have to do them all. We suggested that each term they only address 1 in each section. So this is our framework suggestion to the administration. We would publish the rubrics, build course templates. We were doing this on the side, build course templates based on the rubric, so that every time a new teacher received a course, a lot of the elements would already be there. We would build teacher supports, and a feedback cycle would be initiated. So for the framework, for the rubric, we published minimum expectations for an online course and minimum amounts of enhancements. So the minimum expectations would probably be, of the 40 elements in our rubric, they would probably have to have something like 16 of them. And then each term, they should address 4 or 5. And on the cycle, that's how their course would be judged. A cycle is 6 terms, which is 2 calendar years. For the course templates, which we would provide, put in a lot of the common elements, honor code, netiquette, technology requirements for each course, social forum. And there were more things, but just basically making sure that the templates had a lot of things that the teachers didn't have to redundantly do every time they got a blank course, which was already happening, which was what was happening. Then we went to town because we had a lot of people in our team who really liked developing support materials. So we had just-in-time video bank. We were making videos with Captivate, which actually in the long, as I look back, they're very expensive to make, but we made a bunch of those to get the teachers up to speed. Alongside of those, we made step-by-step documents. Those documents actually were the script for the videos. We made a couple of exemplar courses so that the teachers could see what the expectations were. We built an online community. We opened an online community. We had live and forum meetings, online meetings, and a forum. And we made common courses that teachers could share their learning objects back and forth. And within the framework also, we had a feedback cycle, which I talked about, 6 terms, 2 years. And the feedback was done by their peers, which was mostly the people in our little group. So to sum up, we set up a framework. It was sort of successful. The administration, the champion dean we had from the the dean of academics left the college. So we lost our champion, but we had already made our framework. We had the rubrics set and published. The supports were there on the system. Audits were conducted, and these were reported to the administrators. Sadly, though, in the end, you need total buy-in from the administrative, the higher administration. And before the pandemic, online learning concerns were not a priority. So these are a series of links that appear here. I can share these with Kenji, and you can access them, I guess, through a SMUG shared site. And basically, that's it for me.